Gary Middlested sent a letter to every individual, so that they say they didn't know, that's because they didn't open their mail, or they didn't care.
I don't think
When we did the vote at the Legion, 7 people showed up. Apparently, they didn't care enough. I'm saying that this took 6 months. That's a reasonable time frame from idea to when we're starting to implement that. If the park board would have been in existence, I'd have gone to the park board. We'd have talked about it.
Jim, I don't think anyone's saying that you skipped any steps, though. No one's saying that we skipped any steps, because we didn't. And that is a long time. I don't think we projected that to the community enough and made them aware of what was happening. It was just an agenda item. It wasn't shared on social media like some of these bigger hearings or projects were. You know what I mean? And when was this vote at the Legion? Because this is the first I heard of it. That's what I mean. Like, it's 2021 and we have communication at our fingertips. There's no reason that we shouldn't know about these things. We got all of this recording equipment, all of these things that we can do to get out there and let people know. No one's saying you skipped any steps, because you didn't.
They still have to tap on that recording to watch it, and they could have seen that.
And I think we can do a better job of putting that out there. If we want the community to know about something, we can make them know about it. I just think that after listening to different people, we fell short on that part, just reaching out. I think no one's saying we skipped steps, but if you didn't know about this process all along, that's probably what it feels like.
And you and I have different perspectives as to how the citizenry should be addressed. I believe that a citizen should take the bull by the horns. They should be proactive. We can do only so much unless they have an interest and be proactive. So I don't agree on spoon feeding people. I just don't.
Yeah, I'm not saying to spoon feed.
Our job to reach out to the community and inform them on what's happening, to use the platforms like social
Transparency.
media. You know, I'm not good at that. Younger people are much better, but we have a Facebook presence called Janesville Hot Dish,
Yep.
where people find out a lot of things that's going on. The Bulldog backers, they get information out there to everybody because they use that social media presence. People don't go on to, I can't even remember the website, and
Right.
look at the agenda and whatever. That's old school. I'm old school, but I know
But-
that doesn't work.
And the median age study, whether we like it or not, is in the 30s. So we have to actually try and cater to that.
I don't know, we're updating our Facebook page daily, so please don't say that.
And how many people have liked...
Did we have a disc golf hearing put on there?
No, we did not.
That's what I was saying.
A public hearing was not required for this.
I never said it was, but I'm saying it would have been nice if we put out more of a notice explaining what was going on and made it more aware. It doesn't have to be an established hearing. But if we're doing a big project, maybe in the future, that's something we could do. I mean, yeah, these are the parameters set forth. That doesn't mean that we have to keep going with that, and we can't be a little more out there trying to get people involved. I mean...
Well, I don't argue with that. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
Clinton, do you know why the park board was dissolved?
Yeah, thank you for asking, Andy. I was gonna try to give that history here. For several years, we've had a park board. It exists in our city code. It's allowed. And I think the last time it met was probably about 5 years ago. We met about every other month. We looked at, park issues, things like that. Reported to the city council. The city council would buy equipment or pay for signs or do whatever. So our park board did exist. And then it didn't, and then it did, and then it didn't. And 5 years ago, we quit meeting because, quite honestly, about 4 meetings in a row, I couldn't have a quorum. And I got sick and tired of coming here on a Monday evening, going like this, waiting for people to show up to a meeting.
Well, and I think
So we quit meeting.
We are in a different place. We didn't have a golf board not that long ago. Now we do, and we're actually doing really well.
Does the city
Things can
council want me
change.
to recreate the park board? I mean,
I don't see why not.
I don't see a problem with trying to do a park board. I mean, if we can't get people to volunteer to do it, or we can't get
Then
them
we
to
don't
show
do
up for a
it.
meeting, it's not, there's nothing we can do about it, but there's no
Well,
reason we
that's
can't
just
try
it.
to reinstate one.
Again, we have to be proactive, find people to be on the committee. Just putting an announcement in a journal isn't gonna find...
It's not gonna find my age,
that-
it's not.
that are
I
really interested
read
in
it,
their-
but I'm an anomaly, so it's just, I agree, I agree. more proactive approach would be great in the future for just about anything. And I know it's more work, but
Since this is a agenda item, I'd make a motion to, reestablish the park board.
I will second that motion.
I don't know what exactly it takes, we have to do a public hearing and get through all that, or I don't know what it takes to do it, but
I have one question. I'm for the Parks Board, but I feel that this project's off limits for the Park Board.
Well, I was gonna
Oh,
just kinda make a little,
that'll be-
adjustment to your motion. We are moving forward with the disc golf course as planned,
Correct.
but
That's how I feel
reinstating a
about it.
park board.
I fully believe they should be involved in the maintenance.
Yeah,
once it's up and running,
I don't think that
you know,
that's a
it's gonna-
off-limits thing.
Realistically, it's gonna take
All
months to
hands
get
on
that-
deck.
To get a park board,
to
it
get
isn't
a park
gonna
board
happen
together
next
and
week.
it's not gonna happen that
I guarantee you it won't happen next week. We had 2 people run for city council last fall, folks. Out of a town of 2,400 people, 2 people ran.
Again, we should be
We
more
gotta get the
proactive,
interest
because
out
the
there.
year before, the election before that, we had 8, and we had,
Yep.
so
We can do it.
we can't keep having a pessimistic attitude on
So the motion on the
everything.
floor is to move forward with the disc golf course as form a.
Oh, then
Reform the park board.
I retract my vote then.
We have a vote.
We voted.
My motion, I retract my motion then.
I'll second your motion.
Have to address, Mayor,
I-
has to address it.
What was the motion?
The motion is to move forward with the disc golf course as planned.
That was not the motion on the floor. The motion on the floor was to reinstate the park board.
Right.
You
We are
added,
amending it.
okay,
I'll amend my
so
motion
then
to-
Mike has to amend it.
I'll amend my motion to that.
And I retract my motion.
Okay, can I please have the language for the amended?
Mike,
Mike,
I would like to make a motion to reestablish the park board, but continue, I don't know if this...
Can this
why
be
this-
2
why thi-
motions?
Why this isn't, we should do this as separate,
It should be 2 motions.
Yes, the two.
We can do it as
should be two
separate.
It should be
separate
two.
entities, right.
okay, we'll do it
Yeah.
as separate ones.
I'll leave my motion the way it is and
up, you gotta listen to this.
Okay, what's your first motion, my friend?
reestablish the park board.
I will second that motion.
All in favor of reinstating a park board?
Aye.
Aye. I would move that the decision has been made, the plans have been put together, the money's been, authorized, and the equipment has been purchased, for the construction of the disc golf course. I would move that we continue to move forward with the construction and implementation of a disc golf course at Lakeview Park.
Second.
All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Abstain on the grounds that I wish that we would have a public hearing on it.
4-0-1.
In reference, if there would've been a park board, I'd have gone through it.
Totally,
I would've,
yeah,
but there wasn't, and it looked like a good, creative, proactive thing for the community.
it is.
So we moved forward, the council did their action, and we've got it going, so when the park board's in place, if I have some other ideas, I'll take it to them.
Great.
Are we ready to move on to new business?
Yep.
Portion of the draft budget. Clinton?
All right. Joe, are you ready?
Yeah, take it away.
Okay, so attached is a portion of our general fund budget we're gonna look at tonight. Primarily, we're gonna look at public works and parks. There's a couple other smaller departments that we'll go through. On the screen here would be that first page of tonight's draft that we're looking at. The building inspections budget, will have an increase in expenses that we're planning for next year because we hope to have more building permit activity. I am gonna point out, though, that as the expenses increase for our building inspectors and for the plan reviews, we also get more revenue in through the permit process, obviously, so there will be some more additional money in the revenue page, okay? Animal control, it's, you know, all the years I've been here, it's been between $1,500 and $2,500 a year, which is partially a city responsibility for the animal control.
This, this building plan review,
Yes,
this was not anything that we had in 2021,
Good question.
we are now.
Yes, what we're doing right now is, when we pay for the building inspection services,
Mhm.
there's a portion of the invoice that calls the building plan review, and then the other part is the, the inspection process and things like that. So we're actually coding now the cost for us for the building plan review, because we can use that to report to the state.
Oh, I see, that's
It
the,
separates it that way. Does that make sense?
yeah, I see the professional services is less, than,
Yep.
okay, makes sense.
Good question. Street Department. Joel's got a good track record here. This is his second year in a row. His proposed budget for next year is less than this year. The top third maybe of this box or so, top 25% is personnel expenses. We've talked a little bit about that over the last couple of meetings. Really, the biggest increase or the biggest item to, point out with the budget is that we need to add a little more for mosquito spray contracting. That's in red letters there halfway down the screen. Then if you look at the bottom, the right-hand corner, we kind of put the different things we've done over the years. 2022, we're gonna put money in for, a sprayer and equipment for the gators so we can spray. Single axle dump is budgeted for in 2023. Joe, do you have anything that you'd like to add? I guess we'd like to keep up with our CIP plan as far as the road maintenance. We bumped that up a little bit last year, and
Yeah, right. A big thing like with mosquito spray, and what I wanted to discuss was, do we consider adding Lakeview Park to the treated area? When they're in town fogging, do we add Lakeview Park? I heard a couple complaints where in the baseball, t-ball, everyone out at the lake, the mosquitoes were just horrendous. I mean, you're out at the lake, but it doesn't matter. I got a call in, the mosquito guy, he's supposed to call me back, but I haven't heard back from him.
Okay,
Even the playground in that pavilion up on top, it'd be nice to have the mosquitoes away from that when a family goes out there for an outing,
Right,
yeah.
or if it's something, we take on, or we get some kind of fogging equipment, but, I'm waiting to hear back from them and see just what it might cost to do that.
okay,
Another thing, core materials, we dropped that a little bit this year, just simply because of the, county agreement, where we will now get, we gave them our salt sheds, and we get, salt and sand material. And another thing that I think is just super important is that CIP on the bottom, that 200,000, I mean, we're finally getting some decent road services in this town. So I think that is just absolutely huge. So I would stress keeping plugging away at that plan, so.
okay.
Another thing, it's not really listed here, Clinton, can you talk about the nuisance snow sidewalk and what we kind of talked about for, obviously just looking ahead,
yeah.
this winter, snow piles up, we get complaints, how are we gonna handle that?
The city council last winter, chose to, when there are the snow sidewalk issues, that we will pay to have that abated. Remember
Mhm.
that? Okay.
Yep,
So what we started to do, we had a couple of those with lawn mowing this summer, and we actually put that in a professional services in a different budget, so it's actually not out of Joe's numbers. Did I make your day?
Yep.
Okay.
I would be comfortable adding the 5,500 for the mosquito spray, especially if we're gonna try and get the Parks Board going and the disc golf going to create more people out there. So I would guess we would have to have that in the motion
Well, and we can,
with the change,
when
or-
we have our final budget here, we'll obviously have
Okay,
info from
Yep.
Rod.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Another thing I just wanted to touch base with is I'm proposing to purchase, a gator-type, equipment, a motorized little gator, just for park maintenance, spraying of parks. Currently, I've just been using my own, but, that's one thing that I would like to get purchased next year out of the street reserve fund.
Okay.
Any questions, street department? Next page is the parks. And really,
Lots of questions.
the biggest increase of the park budget is what we discussed earlier here tonight. We are putting money in the budget for the park at Northwood.
That was my only question.
Yeah. And really, I mean, everything else is pretty much the same.
Yeah, just in the parks, I'd like to look at a new, removing and replacing the basketball court across the street.
Mhm.
Concrete, new hoop.
Now, this is gonna be one of those situations where I think if we're gonna do this park before it gets entered into the budget, do we have any sort of a public like somewhere where we can add it to the agenda and advertise that we're about to discuss a possible $40,000 increase to the budget for a park? I think this would be one of those golden scenarios.
Well, yeah, we have budget, public hearings for budgets.
Yeah.
City council meetings.
I think-
We'll be looking at the draft budget again next month.
We're looking for those changes, but I think that would be something that would be nice to put out there and just hear about.
I don't know how, I'm kinda confused with this.
We're proposing a playground that would increase a budget in one of our departments
Yep.
significantly. This, in my opinion, is one of the opportunities where we should put it out there or make it a little more known versus tucking it into a giant budget. I mean, there's about, just in this little key piece of budgeting that we're looking at tonight, there's probably about 40, 50 lines that we're looking at. So, where we're looking at it line by line, I think it's just something that we could put out there. Hey, if you have any qualms or concerns or questions about a possible park coming up for the budget, this meeting is when we're gonna be voting on whether or not to put it in.
Joe, is that a one-time 40,000, or is that gonna be recurring, keeping your budget?
It is my hope and goal to get 40,000 this year, 40,000 out of our reserve for next year, for a total of 80 out at Northwood Park. And then in addition, we're looking ahead at 2023 for another 40 to redo across the street, so potentially 2 installments.
Okay, I'm not gonna, yeah, so
Yep.
can we put it on, as like a separate agenda to talk about? Especially if it's a 3-part kinda
Well,
situation?
the park equipment costs a hell of a lot more than your city administrator can spend without council.
You're right, I
So
know that.
it will be on the city
I would just
council.
like it highlighted a little more, that's all I'm saying.
Melissa, are you trying to do a little public relations?
Yes, I am. I'll be the PR. I'm excited about it, don't get me wrong.
So what is the timeframe of building the park?
Upon acceptance, probably early next year, would be my hope.
And I hear what she's saying, it'd be nice to have some public hearings and input, I agree. And
Maybe
by that time, we should have the park board up.
It's maybe a good selling feature to get people on the park board that they can help decide what
Agreed.
goes there. You know, what,
Yeah, between now and the first year, I'm hoping we have the park board up and going, and they can be instrumental in helping
Absolutely.
design the thing and guide your efforts. If that's what the people want, I think that's a
Yep.
good thing to do.
Yep,
And I think that's what Melissa's saying, that she wants input. This is simply dedicating the money. This doesn't
Yeah.
have a design, it doesn't
No.
have the equipment, that I think that, that's where you're going with this, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that would be a good role for the park board.
yep.
we have somebody, a few people in that neighborhood that may have a vested interest in
Joining a park
joining a
board.
park board, getting,
What do you think, Josh? Yeah, there we go.
Okay, let's move on to the library.
Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome.
The library budget has pretty much stayed the same as last year. Just for a quick little description, that you know, our library is part of the LeSueur County Library System. And with the Carnegie grant that we received, 1912, part of the grant requirements is that we needed to tax the residents of the community for the maintenance of the building, basically. So the library budget that the city council looks at every year is basically the budget for, the building and utility bill and things like that.
Can I bring one question up in the library?
Mm-hmm.
The library is not handicap accessible, it's difficult for elderly to get into. Is it a possibility of having a second alternative library, or do we have to have the library in the Carnegie building?
Well, you don't have to, but I don't,
You have
I'm
to,
just curious.
yeah, I mean,
I've been approached by at least 5 different residents, and they, when we're getting into the budget, this is the place to bring it up. I'm curious,
I think we can move it into a whole different location, because I'm sure what you're getting at is, there's literally nothing we can do about a historic building.
no, we can't do that, it's in
Nothing.
that building.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
And being that it's on the historic
Would it be worth
register.
looking into next year as a...
We can, 2 years
as a council
ago.
project, to see if we can find alternatives to allow it for more children, more technology, more handicap accessible, more elderly accessible.
I think so.
Okay.
Doesn't hurt.
Community development, excuse me, community development budget,
Pretty straightforward.
pretty straightforward. I am going to mention to you, though, that we do have a developer's agreement in the Northwood subdivision
Mhm.
for those townhomes, and part of that developer's agreement is that when homes are built and the certificate of occupancy is put in place, that, the developer does receive the housing incentives that's in the developer's agreement. So we are gonna have to budget some money. I'm gonna ask the council tonight where you want me to put it, but we do need to probably budget about $15,000 or $16,000 in the city budget to issue those rebate checks based on the developer's agreement that was signed 15 months ago or whatever it was. If you wanna put it in the community development budget, that's actually where I coded one payment for tonight's meeting. It came out of community development. It's not in the budget now, it will be an additional 15,000, or 16, I'll say.
Seems
just to
like
be
the right
safe.
place to put it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where it should be.
So add 16 to here.
And where would it go here?
Community development.
Probably
Miscellaneous?
miscellaneous,
Yeah.
sure.
I don't see anything else that would fit that.
Well, we can always create a new line item for that.
Yep,
Can you?
we could.
Andrea probably can.
Oh, I could, it's, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then the last budget that we're looking at tonight, as far as the draft of the cemetery budget, the biggest part of the cemetery budget is the contract that we have in place for the cemetery maintenance. That contract ends at the end of October, so we'll be looking at new contracts and new agreements here this fall. That budget remains pretty much the same every year.
Mhm.
That's what I have for this portion of the general fund budget. As I stated earlier tonight, the public safety budgets will be looked at the September 13th council meeting.
And you don't need a motion on this?
I would like to back up just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to put $2,000 to $3,000 in the library budget for the funding of this study and investigation for alternatives,
Okay,
in case we need it. If we don't have it in there, we can't spend
Yep.
it. I don't know if we're going to need anything, but it'd be nice to have it there if we need some professional help.
yep.
All right, thanks.
Fair.
On the cemetery budget for the contracts, our contract ends, can we advertise and get a contract signed for next year prior to our final budget? So we know what that exact number is. I mean, it's not a huge.
I think we did that last go around, didn't we? 3 years ago?
We had it set up so we got the
Yep.
contracts back in time to get it on the final budget.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no reason we can't ask for bids for,
Yeah.
right
Next
now,
year.
we can ask for the bids.
Mhm.
All right. Anything else for the budget agenda item?
No.
Contribution from American Legion. This is from the...
Mark and Chad have sat here all night, and we're finally getting to them.
Not quite.
two items on the agenda tonight. The first is resolution number 21, which has the city council accepting a $2,000 donation from the American Legion Post 311 out of Elysian. I would suggest that the council put this into the fire fund so we can purchase equipment for our helmets, heads, flashlights.
I don't think we really need discussion on it, so I'll make a motion to accept resolution 2021-21.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain. So I'm on the fire department.
Me as well.
Well, we still got our three.
Got three, Melissa, Jim, 3-0.
And the last thing under new business is the sale of our rescue squad.
Yes, as we probably know, our new rescue truck should arrive here pretty soon, we hope.
Exciting.
The city of Darfur is interested in purchasing our current rescue truck. They have the letter here attached. They're offering to purchase the rescue truck for $10,000. Fire department met last week, our monthly meeting, and voted to recommend the council accept this $10,000. What we'll do is we'll put that $10,000 in the truck fund. Mark, Chad, do you have anything to add?
No, I think it would be a good, sound ticket for rescue, red truck that they use right now, and, they just don't have the money in their city budget to go any higher than that, so, I think it'd be a good fit for them.
If you guys think it's fair, all right.
I'll make a motion to accept their $10,000. You got something to add yet, Chad?
Where do you put that 10,000 at?
In the truck fund.
Just like to allocate that towards buying a pickup truck.
Oh,
Well,
oh, the one that, I see what you, yeah.
Just to pick up to move the boat and four-wheeler and
Regular cab standard pickup.
Okay.
All right, you were gonna make the motion.
and
I'll
you'll
make a
have to
motion to accept their,
and you'll have to, you'll have to approve the purchase of the vehicle.
when the time comes.
When
Yeah,
the import-
yep.
Right now, we're making a motion to accept the offer of $10,000 from the
Yes.
city of Darfur.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. To abstain.
Yes.
We will adjourn the meeting at 8:24.